Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Ali and Adrian from Zebrahead to the podcast. The new Zebrahead EP, Zero, is out this Wednesday, August 12th. The guys discuss their early musical influences, how Adrian ended up joining the band, the reason behind focusing on EPs, why most of their touring is in Europe, celebrating 30 years, and more. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. You can find links in our show notes or at asthestorygrows.com for our mailing list, our Discord server, and our Patreon page, where $1 a month gets you early access to every episode. And if you like what you hear, I would love it if you subscribe to the podcast on your platform of choice. Enjoy today's conversation with Ali and Adrian from Zebrahead. Well, I don't want to try to cover 30 years of Zebrahead all at once because that's insane. But I guess I'm curious as an introduction. I mean, Ali, my main question for you is as an immigrant in the States, was music your touch point and I don't know, getting familiar with the culture?
Honestly, I got into music when I was in junior high. All my friends, I was on the basketball team, and growing up in Orange County, Southern California, for whatever reason, doesn't really make sense, but all my friends listened to just hip hop music, like NWA, Ice Cube, stuff like that. And so that was my first real introduction to music, and I became a huge fan of hip hop music because of that. And then once I got into high school, my friends, except for the basketball team, my other friends all were metalheads. So then Ben, our bass player, he was introduced me to Metallica and Guns N' Roses and stuff like that. So then I started kind of expanding the style of music that I listened to. Nice. But, it was always hobby for me. For most people, I feel music always got me through hard times or times where I always relate happy times to an album, a certain sad song at times to another album. So it kind of is a soundtrack, it's always been a soundtrack to me, to my for my life. So being able to join a band and do this for a living wasn't something that I ever expected or thought I'd ever try to do. Yeah. But circumstances and meeting people that allowed me to follow this path was something that wasn't expected, but I'm super thankful for.
Nice. Adrian, what was kind of your gateway into music and playing?
It's the same, growing up in Germany, and my dad was an army brat. My mom's German. My dad's Dominican. So there was always so much music in my household. Every Sunday it was classical music all day. And my mom would cook on Sundays, classical music. And then every other day it would be Dominican music and then rock and roll on my mom's side. And then my sister growing up, I have an older sister. I remember being a young kid and she'd be blasting Marilyn Manson in her room, and I'd be so scared to go in her room because my sister was this scary looking metalhead goth chick. I thought she was a witch, and so she kind of introduced me to a lot of bands, Green Day and Offspring and stuff like that as a kid, and then I just always fell in love with it. I always felt a good connection with music. I remember the first concert I ever went to with my mom was Chuck Berry, and it was a little VFW hall in Germany. And I remember looking at my mom saying, I want to do that. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And, here we are many years later.
Yeah. Ali, with Zebrahead, kind of the formation of the band, you've always been a band that has kind of crossed genres and had your, sound in a lot of different directions. Does that just come from everybody wearing their influences on their sleeve, or was there some sort of driving force?
It came together really naturally, like you said. That everybody had different influences when we started a band. Like I think Greg at the time was really into like classic rock and metal, and then Ben was like this punk rock guy, and Ed, and then Justin too, and then I was just like really into hip hop and rap music. So when we first started writing, it just kind of came naturally because that's what we were into. But then I think it definitely, the fact that we were able to combine these different genres kind of made us stand out in the music scene in Orange County at the time. And I think it ultimately helped us get a record deal and allowed us to like record music. And otherwise, I don't know, because there's so many bands at that time that were like straight up punk rock or like rock music. There were some that were just straight up rap music that they didn't really respond to the same way they responded to us. So I think it did help us, but it wasn't like a master plan for us. Like we didn't go, oh, if we do this, we're going to get a record deal or be able to have a career. It was just like what we were into, and it kind of worked out for us.
Nice. Adrian, you're the newest member of the band, joining during the pandemic. How'd you get involved in Zebrahead?
Well, I've both been friends with some of the guys, and I've known the guys since 2006. I had gotten out of the Army. I moved to Southern California, and I was in a band called No Bare Feet, and we were recording our first record with Cameron Webb at the same time that the boys were recording their first record with Maddie. And so we kind of all met at the studio, and then we had, my other bands had shows with the boys here and there, but I've always been friends with Dan, really close friends with Dan for years. And Dan just called me up one time, and I thought he was talking, because I'd reached out to Dan about starting like a punk rock supergroup, and I was gonna have like Dan on guitar and Mike Camber from Death by Stereo on drums, and my buddy Neil from the Bomb Pops. And so I thought he was calling me for that. He was like, hey, you want to meet up at Hooters and catch up and grab some drinks? I was like, yeah, dude, let's do it. So I thought that's what he was going to bring up. And no, like we were sitting there eating fried pickles, taking shots of Jameson. And the last cheers we did, he was like, oh, by the way, you're the new singer of Zebrahead. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're the guy. I was like, all right. And I think 2 days later, I met up with all the boys at Ben's house, and we literally started writing the first day. Like the first day we were together, we started coming up with ideas and listening to some demos that they had, ideas that they had, and so it was just like right off the bat, it was really cool, and just kind of gelled that way.
Nice. Since you joined the band, looking at the discography, you've only dropped EPs. Is that a creative choice to just release music in the shorter format?
I think Ali will probably agree. We've talked about this a lot. People's attention spans nowadays are so short to begin with. For someone to sit down and listen to a 13, 14 song album, a lot of people don't do that. Not saying that people don't, but like, I think the difference is that when you do a full-length record, maybe 3 songs get full attention for singles and get a push, as to where when you're writing EPs as a band, instead of writing, because, we'll write 30, 40 ideas more sometimes. And, but only the singles get the most attention, And so when you do singles or when you do EPs, every song in the EP is treated like a single. So you can really put in the effort and the time into the production of those songs, the writing of those songs, the recording of those songs. And it also gives you a chance to release more music, consistently. When you do a full length record, you're probably on tour. What's a touring season on a full length? Like a year and a half, 2 years, right? And in 2 years, you can release multiple EPs and just keep the music coming.
Well, taking chances never works when all you know is losing. Happy ever after only happens in the movies.
This new EP is called Oh. What was kind of the inspiration behind that title? And I mean, as a band 30 years in, like what's inspiring you from a lyrical perspective? It seems like you're still just having fun and writing fun punk rock songs.
Can I just say it's 0?
Oh, 0. Okay.
No, but
That makes sense.
understandable,
the 3, 2, 1, 0. I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's pretty sweet as well.
You could just trick people though.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I mean, I talked to Adrian about this too, is when we're writing songs lyrically, oftentimes it's like stuff that when we're on tour, I know I like always have, and I know Adrian does too, but we have our like note thing on our phone. And if something happens in the day and it's like kind of sticks out to you, a little note, you make a little note, or a lyric, you're like, oh, that sounds cool. You make a little note. And then when we come back home and we're like, hey, let's meet up to write, oftentimes I'll pull out like my notes, and Adrian does the same thing. And it's usually songs are about experiences we've had, whether when we go touring, like something maybe a friend of ours has gone through, something we've gone through personally. And then when we get home, we just kind of go over these little ideas that we've had and try to like come up with a coherent like idea. And usually it's either a lyric or an experience, like I was saying, and then we just build around it together. And we kind of explain to each other, because oftentimes most bands have one like lyric writer, right? For us, it's, there's 2 of us. So we kind of have to explain, oh, this is what, this idea is about. And then, which makes it a little bit more complicated, I think, than other bands. But I feel like it's also a benefit. It's like it's something other bands don't do. So it kind of allows us to kind of stand out a little bit more as far as that goes too. So when we're writing, it's always like, hey, do you have any ideas for this musical part? And then we discuss it, and then we come up with, okay, let's work around this. And that's kind of the process, right?
Nice.
As Doomsday on the Radio is one of our songs on our, I think it was the last EP that we dropped. Every time we'd be at sound check, I just kept on hearing this guitar riff in my head, so I just play it over and over. And so for that song, and sometimes it happens where like it's a musical idea first, and then we just go off the music. But a lot of times, like Ali said, Ali has like an idea about a subject or something he's gone through, or myself as well. And we just kind of get in that room and we just lock ourselves into that room and just try to write. And we never say, okay, we're going to write a punk rock song, or we're going to write a metal song, or we're going to write a hip hop song. We just, whatever the song, whatever the feeling of the lyrics, oftentimes, or is it chaotic? Is it sad? Is it happy? Like, we just kind of base it off of that and kind of run with it and have fun with that.
Yeah. Has it always been kind of natural and easy to write together and work together? Or has it like kind of taken time where now you're just like, you've really hit a stride and it's pretty easy?
What do you think, Adrian? I mean, for me, it's been really easy with Adrian. Like he said, the first time we hung out, we wrote "Lay Me to Rest." So it was like, I've never, had any like issues as far as being able to be creative with Adrian. And I think that's like something to say about his personality, because if I was walking into a band that had been around for 20 years with a bunch of like dudes that have known each other for years, I don't know, like I would always be like, how am I going to fit into this, like writing wise? But Adrian was so pro. Like, he came in, had great ideas, and it was really easy to be like, hey, like, what if we tweak this? He was like, all right. And he would come with 5 new ideas in like 2 minutes. And it's like, one thing I think the reason we both work well together is like, we don't really have a lot of ego when it comes to writing. It's like, let's just go what sounds the best, what like everybody likes the most. It's not like, oh, I want this one because I came up with it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very much, and it's not easy, dude. Especially in a lot of musicians are very specific on, oh, I brought this in and I want to do it this way, rather than what's best for the song. It's more ego based, and I think for us, it's never been that way. And it's so nice to work with another singer, vocalist that is like, has that same mentality, who just wants what's best for the song. And that's kind of how we always approach it, ever since Adrian's been in the band. So it's awesome. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be with these group of dudes that are just outstanding. I love them to death. Obviously, that's something that has grown from me being in the band now for quite a few years. But yeah, I mean, writing, I think there's a certain level to writing that I think we've never gotten frustrated with each other. Like when we write, it's always what's best for the song, and I think that's important. I think a lot of bands, and I've been in a lot of bands where it is very ego based, like Ali said, where it's like, oh, this is my idea, like you can't change it. Like, okay, well, all right, it's fine. But like, I think with us, it's like it's always what's best for the song, not what's best for the person, the individual, because what's best for the song makes it what's best for us as a collective at the end of the day. And it's fun to write, and I always have like these ideas, like with Ed, for instance, I'll be in the drum room with Ed, and Ed will hate me sometimes because I'm like, dude, like, try this fucking part, and it's like kind of a crazy thing, and he's like, look, but he always, no matter how many times he has to do it, he gets it, and it sounds incredible, and so that's another fortunate thing that, like, besides just writing well together and pushing each other like that, we push each other in the studio to become better musicians so that the performances are better. And yeah, it's just awesome because there's some bands you can't do that, like there's some drummers, you tell them, hey, I have this idea, they're like, shut up, you're a singer, and with us, it's like, I don't think it's been like that since I've joined. And, everyone can have an idea, no matter how crazy or cool or lame the idea is. We always try it out because you just never know. So it's been super easy, and I love that about this, about Zebrahead. It's just like everybody's just a go-getter, so it's cool that way.
Nice. You guys, the EP's out in a week. This fall, you have a big European tour, a lot of dates in Germany. I know for certain bands from that time and in the scene, Europe has kind of been more friendly and where the fans are. Is the European tour kind of just like, that's where Zebrahead is most popular right now, or is it just kind of the fall touring in the United States is busy that time of year and it makes sense to go to Europe?
I think there was a minute where in America, like punk music wasn't super popular. And so we started heading over to England and Europe because it never really died down there. So that being said, we've been going there constantly for the past like decade or even longer than that. So it's just a normal tour for us. We don't ever think, I think it's weird for a lot of bands that would go to Europe so much or Japan or whatever, but that, we've been doing it for so long that it's second nature for us. Mm-hmm. We're trying to do more US shows now. We've had a few weekend flyout shows now with Goldfinger. And those have been great, but our bread and butter for the last 15 years has been overseas. And nice. So we are very used to doing long tours over there. So it's just like another tour for us, right, Adrian? I mean, I never second guess it. I'm never like, oh, we're going to Europe for a month. I'm like, oh yeah.
It's like, we're going back to Europe,
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because like even like this November tour, I think this is one of the bigger headlining tours that the band has done. The numbers each week are growing like crazy for all the shows. The shows are being upgraded to bigger venues, which is super cool to see. There's this really cool momentum going on right now, and the band has always been consistent. I mean, before I joined Zebrahead, I would always say, damn, Zebrahead that band works, because they're always on tour and they're also overseas, and and now being a part of it, I'm like so thankful too, because I'm with the boys now, and like that's, if you're in a band, that's what you want to be doing, you want to be touring, and especially overseas, so very cool that we get to do that, and like Japan, we got Japan coming up next week, super excited to go back there. We got Canada this weekend, so it's super rad, so very thankful. And hopefully some more U.S. dates next year. But I know fans always want to talk about the U.S., and I was trying to explain it to them in kind of like this perspective. In Europe, you got the cost of the bus driver, you got the flights, you got the bus, you got gas, all those things. But in Europe, you drive 4 hours, you can go through 3 different countries, maybe 4. In America, you drive 4 hours, and you're not even a quarter way out of the state sometimes. Yeah. So touring in the States in that capacity is a lot harder because it is more expensive. So that's why a lot of bands nowadays are making these massive tour packages with almost every band on as a headliner. You know what I mean? To compensate for the cost of it. So it's really hard to tour in the States that way. But, you know, doing the weekend fly out dates has been amazing for us. And I think that might be like a good path for us to do for next year or so.
Yeah. Yeah. As you guys celebrate 30 years, I mean, Ali, have you sat and thought about like the journey and just like the legacy of Zebrahead? Or are you just like, I'm so grateful that I still get to do this and make music for my job?
I mean, yeah, for me, you know, again, I never thought I would ever be a musician. So every day I'm like, I can't believe like I'm still doing this kind of thing, you know, but I'm, you know, obviously very thankful, and I don't take it for granted. You know, I have a lot of friends in other bands that unfortunately, you know, for whatever reason, they stopped playing music. And every day, you know, when we're out there, I am thankful because I do realize how lucky we are. But it is pretty normal for us, you know, like I guess you become desensitized to stuff after a while, but it's not that I don't appreciate it. It's just kind of like, okay, well, we're going back to Europe for a month, you know, a few weeks or whatever. And you just kind of prepare for it the best you can. And your mentality has to be like, you know, we want to put on the best show every single time, and we want to connect with the fans every single time. And so I try to focus on that rather than kind of be shocked at like how the longevity of our career and how lucky we've been, you know.
I wish I could go back. It's too late and I know that. I wish I could go and turn back time. 'Cause taking chances never works when all you know is losing. Happy ever after only.
But yeah, Zero comes out August 12th. We're super, super pumped for it. And we just hope everybody enjoys the songs. Yeah. Talk to me, Al.
Oh, last thing I would say is just check our Instagram site or zebrahead.com to look for tour dates and stuff, because we're constantly adding new shows, and we would love to like hang out with our friends all over the world. So come see us and we'll buy you a beer.
Yeah. Outside of just because you can and like, fuck it, like why releasing on the 12th on a Wednesday and not the normal Friday now?
Because we like to be weird, bro.
Okay.
When you're alone.